Early morning, 6 a.m. I woke up with my alarm, pulled the curtains back, and glanced into what was still the night. Morning hadn't quite arrived yet, though technically it was already here. The darkness held this hour in its firm, icy embrace. And they were truly icy. The thermometer outside showed minus 24 degrees. I opened the window, letting the frigid air into my studio apartment where the good oxygen had run out overnight. A good day, gloomy, calm, and cold. I like mornings like this, though I don't like the frost, I thought, heading to the bathroom. I got myself in order, brushed my teeth, shaved, washed my face, and did a short workout. A pre-made breakfast was waiting, needing only to be heated up. I tossed the chicken wings from a cold container I'd brought in from the balcony and selected the reheat mode on the air fryer, the smart machine word to life, blasting my food with warmth. But my mind was on only one thing. I wanted a different position at work. Not the one I have now, but another, a better paying one. The kind that involves working in an office, on the phone, or with papers, and for a lot more money. I can't say I live badly. Can you call a salary of almost 200,000 rubles bad? No, of course not. But it's significantly less than what the other employees at our company make, a company that delivers questionable, though legal, goods. Even so, our management, myself included, manages to rip people off. I thought about this while gnawing on chicken bones. To be honest, I can't say for sure what exactly we do. I mean, it's clear we deliver cargo. And not just any cargo. Coffins, wreaths, cremation equipment, exhumation components, as well as various medical equipment for people who are still alive. Our company is small, but even without digging deep, I understood that our bosses, whom I'd never even seen, were very serious people, very. I had no doubt about it. A business like logistics is heavily divided, and things like equipment and other attributic are even more so. It's money. Good money. There's a lot of money around death and illness. But I was just a regular driver, the simplest kind. I drove to wholesalers or warehouses where I'd get loaded up. Sometimes I'd go to basement workshops where they'd load me up with very bizarre and beautiful monuments or tombstones, which were rare and ordered by extremely wealthy people for whom money was no object. Why they ordered through us, I don't know. Like I said, I don't fully understand how the company works, who our bosses are, or why they never have any problems, and their business runs like clockwork. But as I reasoned earlier, these are not simple people. Whatever they say, from where and to where, I don't get paid by the hour or the kilometer. I have a flat salary of 193,000 rubles, regardless of whether I'm working or sleeping. When I joined this company, which, by the way, I found completely by accident, after turning into the wrong courtyard and just asking some guys smoking outside if they needed workers, they said yes, they needed drivers. And that's how I got the job. We don't have a friendly atmosphere. Everything is cold, plain, and pale. No conversations, no jokes, no banter. You come in the morning, go into the office, get your route sheets, listen to instructions from the deathly pale boss about where to go and what to carry, and then you get your pre-trip medical check. Why deathly pale? Because he was as pale as a corpse and spoke in a purely mechanical voice. The people who worked directly in the office, as I called it, were all like that, silent and calm. The specifics of the work probably took their toll. It's probably not much fun sitting around listening to someone tell you that you need to order a shipment of coffins that was supposed to be in a certain city yesterday. I think that's why they're like robots, like they're not alive. I only saw the inside once. I mean, beyond the first floor, beyond the reception desk. You'd see someone typing something, someone talking on the phone, but otherwise it was silent, like being in a freezer. It was an unpleasant feeling. But the drivers, all 8 of us, were cut from a different cloth. We rarely saw each other, though, since sometimes you had to be on the road by 4 a.m. while someone else was on a long haul. When you're exhausted, you don't feel like joking. You just want to sleep. I finished the chicken wings, washed my face and hands again, and started getting ready for work. Not long ago, I told my boss, purely as a joke, that I'd like to join them and work in the office instead of all this driving. At that moment, I had just spent a week stuck near Voronezh, and then had to drive a load to Astrakhan. I was so fed up that I said it. Maybe you're looking for a new order manager or something. I expected the standard brush-off, like, yeah, we'll see. Maybe someone will die and you can take their spot. But the response was different. Just as icy, short, and brutally informative. I will speak with our boss about this. I will tell him of your desire, he replied, handing me the route sheets.
I already knew the company wasn't clean. I had even participated in it myself. A month ago, they called me mid-route and told me to find any spot, unload the goods, and destroy them. But then drive to the destination, collect the money, and tell the client the goods were damaged and had been sent back. Just imagine, 2 a.m., freezing cold, an empty highway, and you're hauling out coffins and lids with your bare hands and then setting them on fire. I'm not a superstitious person, but even I feel uneasy hauling coffins. It's just a box, wood and fabric, but you look at it and it just feels wrong. I guess the thought that you will be lying in one someday awakens these irrational fears. My dealings with my management were strange, but they paid, and I would drive back to the base with the full sum of money. I didn't understand what was happening. It was weird.
What does goods damaged mean? And sent back? Why did they pay then?
Of course, none of this was decided by me, but by phone. From the outside, it all looked very strange, even for a thick-headed guy like me. And so I drove, hauling coffins or medical equipment. But yesterday, they told me, tomorrow is a special day for you. The boss has expressed a desire for you to move to a different position. So be ready. I was ready. Someone secretly told me my salary would start at $240,000 and could go up indefinitely if I did my job well. But what job exactly? I had no idea. Why so much money? For deception? But then why hadn't the company been shut down? Maybe it was a front for money laundering. Maybe... In any case, the boss was no simple man, and it was better to talk less and do more. Maybe I'd live longer and see more that way.
I got dressed, left the apartment, locked the door, and called the elevator. Work really does define a person and shape their personality. Yes, it does. I stood there pondering. I used to be a carefree, fun-loving guy who only cared about girls and having a good time. Now, I stepped into the elevator and looked at my reflection. Serious, collected, dressed to the nines, like a hitman, not a truck driver. Though the job wasn't stressful, just drive from point A to point B, little responsibility. Once the cargo is loaded, I'm not responsible for it if it gets stolen, except for the timing. Punctuality is everything. I understood that they didn't care about the cargo. You just had to be on time, no exceptions. And like everywhere else, sometimes there was barely enough time. You couldn't even stop to pee, you just had to floor it.
Other times, there was so much time, you could make a detour somewhere. The 2 unforgivable sins were being late and coming to work drunk. The fines for those were so severe that it was easier to just not be late and not drink. By the way, management cared little about why you were late, unless the truck broke down. What I did like about this company was that they always fixed the truck, no matter where I was. If something broke down seriously and there was no way to get to the nearest service center, they'd send a mechanic. Or I'd drive to one myself, and they'd pay for the repairs later. They used to joke that after a breakdown, they'd sacrifice the mechanic who serviced the truck back at our repair base. Just kidding. But it was a fact that the mechanic ate less after something like that. I stepped outside, inhaled the frosty air, and the icicles in my nose nearly pierced my brain. Excellent weather. Just what I needed, I thought with a smile, and started walking down the still empty street. I could have taken the car, but I'm thinking of selling it. It's strange, but I've noticed I don't really need a car. I can get to work by subway, on foot, or by taxi. I always preferred the subway or walking. I look back at the buildings behind me, huge concrete giants, a wall of windows, and in that wall, I live. Cell number 439, a studio apartment with a view of concrete. Instead of a courtyard, there's a parking lot that's catastrophically insufficient. In winter, it leads to fights. It gets even worse when it snows. Everything is buried. You can't drive, cars get stuck, no one cleans it, everyone's in a hurry, blocking each other, yelling and making threats. Chaos. I think, why do I even need a car if I can get by without it? And there are plenty of delivery services. What would I even order? I thought, sidestepping a fresh pile of dog crap. I used to blow all my money, but not anymore. I've become different myself, not cheerful, not the fun guy I used to be. I've become colder, more rational, less talkative. My friends still invite me out to a pub sometimes. I go, but I don't find their conversations and company pleasant. I think they're complete idiots, a lost cause. Yes, exactly. Discussing the new smartphone that came out, why someone will or won't buy it, the pros and cons, talking about clothes, games. What's the point of all that? It's completely uninteresting. It changes nothing. Just talking for the sake of talking. Work defines a person, shapes them. My work is gloomy, hazy, and filled with solitude on the road. At first, it was hard for me, but then it became routine. You just sit there, drive, and that's it. No thoughts, no desires, just occasionally glancing at the time, making sure your phone is charged in case you get an order to dump a tombstone. My friends told me I'm not myself anymore. I used to be different. But what can they understand? They're people who have always lived in the best city, who were given everything from birth by default, and I had to work for years to get to that default. Many of them don't even have to worry about who or what they'll become. Their parents already decided for them. So it's not surprising I didn't notice my friends were idiots before. Maybe because I was one too. You know the saying, you become who you hang out with? It seems to be true. Now I have a different goal. I want a different, better paying job so they pay me what I'm worth. And then I can escape this concrete box. It's funny, someone might consider my current salary a decent wage. I consider it just sufficient. Sufficient to just live and save a little. You can't buy anything here with this money, even if you've saved for 5 years. And where I want to live, you probably couldn't afford it even after saving for 10. The prices are different, the mindset is different, everything is different. Of course, if you take my small hometown, for this kind of money, I could become the mayor and live an extremely wealthy life by their standards. Not here. For many people here, this is nothing. Take my friends, for example. One of them has rich parents. They can sit in a restaurant for an evening and drop $60,000 without thinking much about it. And $60,000 is about 40% of my salary.
If I want to really live, I need that other position. Though, honestly, I'm anxious. I stopped, waiting for the light. A certain anxiety is gnawing at me, born from ignorance. I have absolutely no idea how things work there. Why isn't anyone in jail for ripping off clients? Why does everyone order from this company when they don't even advertise? You can't even find information about them on the internet. It's like a ghost company created by some mysterious someone for unknown purposes. That's why they rip people off. Maybe that's why they launder money. But in any case, I'm ready to make a deal with my conscience because my salary will increase significantly. And don't judge me. If you had the same opportunity, you'd do it without a second thought. At least don't lie to yourself. The light turned green and I crossed the street. About 10-12 minutes left until I arrived. My boss would be waiting for me there. He asked me to come early. That's another strange thing. I can turn in my route sheets at 4 a.m. and he's there to accept them. I can get back at midnight and he's still sitting there. Does he ever go home? Does he live at work? Most likely he just comes in, but he's in a management position. He supervises us. So why does he live here and not at home? He surely earns a good amount. But I need to stop thinking about others' money and focus on increasing my own. Everything else can wait. I arrived with a sense of excitement, as if I were about to perform on stage. I was shaking unpleasantly. It was dark inside the small two-story building. The plastic doors on the left and right were closed. The sound of my steps on the tile echoed loudly down the hallway. The corridor itself was dark, with fluorescent lights glowing faintly at the far end. I saw the light under his door. I exhaled, pulled the handle, and went inside. The smell of paper hit me. My boss was sitting at his desk, looking at me. I was somehow convinced that he had been sitting just like that, just waiting. It's no wonder he talks like a robot. "Hello, have a seat," he said from behind his wide desk, gesturing to a chair. I did as he said. "Arthur, the boss wants to see you, personally. He needs to talk to you. And then you'll be accepted for the position." "Okay. Where is he? When will he arrive?" "He won't be coming. You will go to him, to his home. He is not the kind of person who leaves his house for you. But he cares about the company and its employees. Therefore, you will go to him." "Okay. Where do I need to go?" "We'll get to that. First, your instructions. Here." He handed me a stack of papers, quite a lot of them. Without reading, I asked, "What is this?" "This is your new agreement and contract. Read it and sign. If you sign, you'll have to go. No options." Without looking, not believing my luck, I signed the contract without reading it and handed it back. If this isn't luck, then what is? "Good. Now, to business," he said colorlessly, and started clicking something on his computer while I waited. 5 minutes later, I dictated my phone number and they sent me the coordinates and a brief description of how to get there via text message so I wouldn't forget. Then I saw it on the map and whistled. "Why does he live in the middle of nowhere?" "The man values peace and solitude." "But this is Siberia. It's just forest. Only a train goes there, right?" "That's right. You have a 2-day train ride ahead of you. It'll be the fastest way, and then you'll be at his place. By the way, today's the 18th. He is expecting you on the 20th at 11:10 a.m. If you're late, you can kiss that position goodbye. So hurry. If I were you, I'd be running already," said my, for now, direct superior. I didn't linger. I went home, packed my things, grabbed money and documents, and decided to speed up the process of getting myself there. I won't tell you how I got to the train station or what thoughts were in my head. I think you understand. I'll just say that I was scared. Something inside me was telling me I shouldn't go, shouldn't do this. And for some reason, I started thinking about church. I felt an urge not to go to the boss, but to go to a church. And here's why my brain started coming up with strange interpretations of our conversation today. Past conversations, as well as rumors and talks with various drivers from our company. Something happened today. Something. And my subconscious drew a solid, straight line connecting various, and at first glance, unrelated facts. What does the church have to do with this? Well, it's not for nothing. I broke into a sweat when I realized why I was so worried and why my subconscious was trying to get through to me, warning me of danger. I might have been a young, moderately dumb, and carefree guy, a rake, in other words, but I was also slightly religious and went to church from time to time. Why I went is my own business, but I went sometimes, and I started going after I got this job. So what? Where's the connection? The connection is this. Before, after going to church, I was perfectly fine. But after starting this job, after visiting church, I'd feel sick. First, just unwell. Then, after later visits, I'd feel downright awful. So bad I couldn't even lift my hands. And the last time I was there, I had a terrible nightmare as I lay powerless in bed. I dreamed I was in the middle of a terrifying forest with predatory eyes watching me from the bushes, and I was vomiting black rot. The more of that filth came out of me, the lighter I felt, as if I was getting rid of something bad. After that dream, I thought I had just eaten something bad, and that's why I had the dream. But now I understood. No, it's something to do with my bosses. Something with them. Or with this job itself. But what? My mind also brought up the observation that sometimes drivers would just disappear. Some worked for a week, some for a year, some for 2, but they all changed. The oldest driver had only been there a year longer than me. Why such high turnover? We drivers talked about it ourselves, about the suspicious disappearances. Hey, that one guy didn't show up. Then a second, a third, but the work was structured in such a way that you hardly knew anyone. You'd see another driver, maybe cross paths and talk sometimes, but that was it. There was never a time when you saw everyone all in one place, not to mention seeing those who worked in the office. I had a wild urge to call and tell them all to go to hell, to get any other job but not go to the boss. There were too many strange things here, and my mind couldn't give a clear answer as to what the danger was. It couldn't name the exact reason, but it was sounding the alarm, telling me this was not a business I should be involved in. But I thought and reasoned, why fill my head with nonsense? It's probably just the dauntingly long trek into the Siberian wilderness that's scaring me. And then the church came to mind again, like a hint, a warning. Well, he's not going to eat me, damn it! While I'm there, I'll ask him how our company operates. It's very interesting, though he'll probably tell me himself. After all, I'm now a participant in his dark dealings. And that they were dark, I had no doubt. To speed up my arrival, I calculated the route every which way and decided it made sense to drive 300 kilometers by car and then hop on a train. I'd have to make another transfer after that, but that was no big deal. I could handle it. On the 20th, at 5 a.m., I transferred to another train. Smaller, older, rustier. This train didn't travel between regions, it served the region itself. Everything was pissing me off. The weather was getting worse, the wind was blowing so hard it was ringing in my ears, and the blizzard was cutting to the bone. It felt like the flesh would peel off them. I boarded the train, which also pissed me off. The stench, the darkness, the questionable crowd here and there. But it was understandable. Ahead of me lay a many-hour journey through practically empty lands, where trees outnumbered people by thousands to one. And only rare, deserted stations would be beacons in this dense, dark nightmare. I had heard about places where transportation was a real problem, and trains and commuter rails were the only means of getting out or arriving. Something's going to happen, I thought, walking down the corridor. For example, say a grandmother lives in such a settlement, the last resident of the village. If she dies, the train will just pass the station by and won't stop there anymore. The station will become dead too. And who would bury her? If you think about it, she'd just lie there in her house, dead, until she decomposed. I found my compartment. An old man and a young guy were inside, my neighbors for the near future. Of course, I would have preferred some hot blondes, but life doesn't care what you want. So this was the company I got. I settled in, did what I needed to do, and got acquainted with my fellow travelers, who turned out to be not so bad people. Only the young guy kept giving me a hostile look. He was clearly jealous and angry, and I understood why he looked at me like a wolf. To him, I was a rich, spoiled brat who had come here to this region where people in some places still fight for survival, where whether you eat or not depends on what you do to make it happen. In the cities, it's easier. There's a store. No food at home? Go to the store. Here, it's simpler. There's cottage cheese, or there isn't. This kind of pasta, or no pasta at all. It's simpler and harsher here. And as I'd heard, the favorite type of cutlets for the locals is homemade, because what they sell in the store is a different kind of cutlet altogether. Very tasty, probably. The kid was just jealous, but I've learned that you shouldn't get angry at someone who has what you want. You need to remember who you were jealous of, change something in your life, and live the same way, or maybe even better. But the guy was young, very young, and his envy was dark. The old man was a different story, the kind of citizen you look in the eye and see an unbreakable will. Don't mind that he himself was frail and ancient. Inside that body was a steel rod. Such people are simple and strong, which attracts others and earns them respect. Nevertheless, I only struck up a conversation with the old man, who was talkative, while the young man just glared at me from under his brow, like an animal. What are you doing here, in this region? What need or crazy idea brought you here? And what's your final destination? I'm going to see my boss. He lives in these parts, values his privacy. Privacy? Well, he chose a damn good place for that. Here, damn it all, there's a whole sea or an ocean of privacy and misery. Normal people get out of here. There's nothing to do, no jobs, just old folks. But this guy does the opposite. Well, I'm going to see him. He wants to see me in person, and then I'll get a promotion. Why does he need to see you? The old man asked. I don't know. He just said he wants to, and that's that. He's a rich, powerful man, and they have their quirks. I don't know why. And what's your station?
I opened the navigator on my phone and said, "The nearest station is Prvomaiska. From there, it's a walk."
Damn, what a hellhole. You should just drop this whole thing. I wouldn't go there for 100 grand. Not even in dollars, let alone live there, the kid said quietly. Quiet down, you. You're still young, butting into conversations. You're not my boss, old man. I'm telling it like it is. It's a cursed place. You're going there for money. You'll most likely stay there. They still see the dead walking along the tracks there. An unnamed horror lives there. What are you talking about? My great-grandmother lived 2 stations from there. They didn't even go mushroom picking. Said it was the devil's Dacha. That's what they called it, the devil's Dacha. That's all gossip from your grandma. It's a normal place. My friend works as a station master at Oktyabrskaya, the one right before it. And he hasn't seen anything like that. Hasn't seen or hasn't told. He hasn't seen it. He's lying. It can't be. I'd bet anything he's lying.
Don't listen to this young fool. He'll make things up, the old man said. Let the man decide for himself if he needs this or not. And I don't understand why you won't tell the truth yourself. You've lived here all your life. Aren't you ashamed of lying? I know the truth, and I'll warn you. You listen, and you'd better turn back. I swear on my soul. The old man looked at the kid, but the kid just gave him the finger and started talking. Look, Oktyabrskaya, where his friend is, that's another one of those stations. I travel there often. I know what I'm talking about. And I've talked to people from there. They say that when night falls, it's not just about bandits, though that happens too. They talk about mystical things. They say the dead have no peace there, and the living often go insane. Once, a guy there buried his wife, but in the old way, stretching the coffin between 2 trees. Said the spirits of his ancestors told him to.
Well, everyone who went into the forest heard the body thrashing inside the coffin, trying to get out. And at night, his dead wife's ghost would beg him from the coffin to let her out. And the ponds. Oh, what's your name, visitor? Artur? Oh, Artur, my boy, the water situation there is great. The water is ice cold all year round, and in some ponds, old spirits live, and they don't tolerate disrespect. You go into a pond up to your waist, and you can drown. They'll pull you down to the bottom. I could sit here for 2 days telling you about that cursed place. They don't even mine for gold there, even though you're practically walking on it. And there are people who can turn into bears, evil dead shamans, and other things. There are tons of legends like that there, and you're going right into the heart of it. It's not for nothing people say that in these parts lies the devil's Dacha.
Are you done? The old man interrupted. Now shut up! The man just got here, and you're scaring him with your grandma's nonsense. He's a modern man. He doesn't believe in that wild horror. Right? I guess, I replied, just to say something. Don't listen to this young fool. He hasn't seen life, hasn't talked to decent people. He just stands there, spinning tales. You'll remember me, old man. I'll tell everyone what a scoundrel you are for not telling the truth, instead of making him turn back, he continued. But I won't insist. You, Artur, think for yourself. Who do you believe? And what reason do I have to scare you? But if I were you, I'd tell your boss to go to hell. Although, what's the point of sending him there, if he is the devil himself? Sooner or later, we changed the subject, and I eventually went to sleep, hoping to finally meet my boss the next day and get my promotion. Although the kid's words had an effect on me, I dismissed it as just hidden aggression, an attempt to scare off the fancy city slicker in good clothes. See how dangerous it is here, so get out? The train was stuck.
What do you mean the train isn't going any further?
I was burning with anger. Just what I said, the conductor replied. It's been snowing for 3 days, and overnight it got bad. It's not safe to move forward. The train is staying at this station. As soon as the tracks are cleared, we'll move on. And when will they clear it? I looked at my watch. It was the 20th, 8:09 a.m. I wouldn't make it.
If I waited an hour or 3, I'd have to turn back. I needed to do something. What's with the long face? The old man asked as I re-entered the compartment. I'm not going to make it. I need to be there by 11, and the train is stuck. We're not going anywhere. Tracks need to be cleared, you see. I have an idea that might help you, the old man said, but it'll cost you. But there's a chance to get where you need to go. Like I told you, I have a friend at the Oktyabrskaya station, the station master. He has hunting skis. I think they're called Siberia or Taiga. I don't remember. Anyway, they're big and clumsy, but they're perfect for walking through snowdrifts. And if I understood correctly, if you go straight from the station, you'll get there in an hour on skis, even on those. The railway makes a big detour, but through the forest, it's fast. But you'll have to pay.
I'm ready. How much do you want?
Give me 50,000.
Are you crazy, old man? I don't even have that much cash on me.
Then give me all the cash you have. Keep your cards, but give me the cash. That'll be the payment.
That's robbery!
No, it's my demand. Besides, I'll show you the way. I have a rough idea of where that house is, so I'll run with you to the doorstep. But again, I'm not forcing you. If you don't want to, don't pay. It's your choice to go on foot.
Fine, I said, handing over everything from my wallet after a moment's hesitation. I named a price, and you handed it over yourself. I didn't take it from you, so don't grumble and don't insult me, son. Life is like that. It's either this or that, and you won't miss it. You're a rich kid, Artur, and you'll get even richer. This is nothing to you. Now get up, quickly. Let's go if you want to be on time. From here to the station you need. It's about 30 minutes along the tracks if we hurry.
The skis were obtained, along with poles, all old and ancient. I left my suitcases with the station master, since I couldn't make it with them, and he, after setting us on an easy path, pointed the way. We had barely left the station, just disappeared behind the pine branches, when a blizzard started to pick up. The old man walked behind me, giving directions, sometimes asking me to stop, but we kept going, and it seemed we were even making good time. Then, at some point, his voice just disappeared, leaving me here alone to die.
I understood why he took all my cash, but spared my cards and didn't insist on payment afterward. He never intended to lead me anywhere. He abandoned me in this forest, left me to the wolves, and ran away himself. He must have been lagging behind and then just vanished. He's got to be nearby, maybe 200 meters away, but I can't see a thing. The wind is howling so loudly it's hard to even think. I can't hear my own thoughts, and it's brutally cold. I can't stop, or I'll definitely freeze. I'll walk through the forest as the blizzard howled, singing a funeral dirge in my ear, assuring me that I would never get out of here. I had strayed from the railway, the last thread of life in this region. Lose it and you're faced with hundreds of kilometers of vast nothingness. And I'd even left my phone in my suitcase, afraid of losing it. Wonderful. Now they probably won't even find my body. I turned around and saw something. "Old man!" I yelled, happy that he had returned and I'd been wrong. But it wasn't him. It was a person in a sheepskin coat and a fur hat with ear flaps. He was standing in the snow in felt boots. A second later, he disappeared into the swirling blizzard. It was impossible to make anything out. I kept walking forward, on and on, until at some point I saw a crooked silhouette standing ahead. As I got closer, I realized it was a devil, a malicious small one. It stood in the snow, laughing, but I couldn't hear its laughter over the howling wind. It pointed at me and cackled, then leaped onto a tree and fled, and I, having pissed myself, ran like I'd never run before. Of course, I was moving at the speed of a drifting corpse on water, but I was trying my best, until at some point I tripped on something in the snow and fell. I wanted to keep running, but for some damn reason I turned around. I saw that it wasn't a branch like I'd first thought, but a frozen hand, 5 fingers sticking out of the snow. The blizzard whispers a song of death. The dead are grabbing me through the snow. I can feel their cold, bony fingers. The earth is calling, and I know for sure I'm not getting out of here, I thought. I start running around hysterically, panicking, fleeing from the devils. It felt like years had passed. Suddenly, I felt no ground beneath me and fell face first into the snow. Another layer. I looked closer and realized I was lying on a cleared road. And if I looked even closer, a small light burning up ahead. I had no strength left. I had been running like a man possessed through this enormous forest. I hadn't even been following any particular direction. But as they say, fools have the best luck. So, without much thought, I found the strength to somehow get up, abandon my skis, and walk toward the light. I pressed the doorbell of a huge house with my nose. After half a minute, a prim and proper type opened the door.
Come in. You are expected. I walked into the entryway, where, to my delight, a clock on the wall showed 10:32. I made it. Yes, please come through. Vladimir Yuryevich does not like to be kept waiting. I almost died. Do you know what I saw? If you do not come through right now, I will call security, and the evil beyond the threshold will tear you to pieces. Come, no more words are needed. Sobbing, I took off my shoes. The frostbite in my fingers and toes was making itself known, declaring that another hour or two and they would have to be amputated. But thankfully, it seemed I was spared, and they began to thaw in the warm house. "Follow me," said the man, who was either a butler or some other fancy type. He led me through the enormous house to my boss's office. The office, as was not hard to guess from the butler, was done in the English style. Of course, everyone wants to be a lord, never mind the peasant's mug, but money. Carved wood, heads on the walls. This approach irritated me, and I disliked it. It was cumbersome, strange, and out of place, and dark. As dark as, well, it was just dark, even on the brightest day. The boss himself was an ordinary, unremarkable, skinny man, sitting on a sofa in a robe with a glass of something in his hand, gazing at the fireplace where the logs crackled. Vladimir Yuryevich, he has arrived. Ah, come in. Pour yourself something and sit next to me. You've been through quite an ordeal, haven't you? And you surely want to tell me all about it. It was said in such a way that I no longer wanted the fireplace or the sofa,
but rather to be back in the forest than with this boss. But since I'd made it this far, it was too late to back out. This is what I wanted, right? I poured a drink and sat on the sofa, feeling the tension leave my legs and arms as a warm wave washed over my body after the first sip. Isn't it wonderful, after weather like that, to sit by the fire? It's pleasant, I answered curtly. And it's even more pleasant to see that your employees are willing to undertake a truly titanic journey to endure any of your whims and fancies. It is precisely such scoundrels as loyal as dogs who win their master's favor. I winced at being compared to a slobbering mutt, a man who had just survived hell. Don't be shy, I know why you're here, but I have another question. Do you yourself understand why you are here? Well, you asked. I understand that. But do you understand why? No. Splendid. Then it is time to tell you a few things about our, let's say, firm, and about your promotion, and even about your premonitions. You are a very bad person, Arthur, and you work for a very bad firm. We screw people out of their money. We transport coffins and headstones, and we transport them to people who are still alive. Yes, don't be surprised. All those coffins you transported were made in advance for living people who themselves knew nothing of it. But you know, transporting cargo is just transporting cargo. The real work happens in the office. Scams, frame-ups, murders, contract jobs, we do it all. We buy people, intimidate them, infiltrate, and sow discord. What's the point of a transport business if there are no bodies, right? But can you make a lot of money from that? Alas, no, not in our case. And is money even the main thing? Also, alas, no. Have you ever wondered why everything is so strange? If you have, you've found your answer. Because I'm your boss, and now your master. I live here, and I run you pieces of meat from here, because I cannot leave this anomalous zone. I am a real demon, nameless of course, but for you, that will suffice. That old man you met on the way, that's the imp from your left shoulder, and that young man who tried to dissuade you was the angel from your right. Surely you've heard the legend that at least two stand behind each of you. You were alone in that train car. There was no old man, no young man. And when you made your moral choice and fell asleep, when the train got stuck, they were literally hitting you on the forehead, telling you not to get involved. But you were persistent and diligent, and so now you are here. What is this nonsense you're spouting? And I shut up. Horns grew on the man on the sofa. His skin turned red, and his skull grew several times larger. He himself became more massive. And that little walk through the woods, you might not have survived. I was just having some fun with you. I was simply bored. I jumped up from the sofa, screamed, and tried to flee, but he waved his hand, and my ass was literally fused to the sofa. Quiet! Don't fuss! Calm down, he said. When you sign a contract with our company, you don't just become an employee. Your soul becomes company property. But since the soul and Bobby are inseparable, I'll have to shake it out of you and put some malevolent imp inside instead. And you'll be off to sunbathe on the Sulphur beaches. Wait! He just laughed. I have always been amazed at your stupidity and your blindness. You people have one very true, very correct proverb. Be careful what you wish for. That's the whole point. Just then, some strange device was brought into the room, but the restraints for arms and legs on it were clearly visible. Well, now, it's time to depart for the fiery sanatorium, and your body will serve my purpose.